Hi, this is Chatterboxing. I'm Sean, and I'm going to talk about the Errol Spence Leonard Bundu fight happening tonight. Give my prediction for it. I've seen Leonard Bundu fight that I can remember at least 3 times. I saw him against Lee Purdy in the UK. That was a very good fight, very entertaining. He showed a lot of heart in that fight. He won, I think, TKO late in the fight. It was a long time ago. Lee Purdy is quite tough, kind of blood and guts, kind of in your face. You know, typical kind of English style, bulldog like style fighter. And he sort of went toe to toe with him at times. Um, Came back. I mean, he was in trouble himself a few times that fight. Came back and won. So he did that pretty well. I was quite impressed with that. I've seen him fight as well against Frankie Gavin, which was in the UK as well. I think that was actually in Birmingham, where Frankie Gavin's from. But either way, he had a lot of support in the arena. Frankie Gavin. It was quite a hostile atmosphere for Bundu. He turned up and he won the fight. It could have maybe gone either way, to be honest. I think it was fair that he got the decision, but it was a close-ish fight. Frankie Gavin is a very good boxer. He's not a particularly big puncher. He's not that physically strong, but he's very skillful. And he won the gold medal in the World Amateur Championships. So he knows how to box, and he's difficult to fight. He's a southpaw like Errol Spence, but he's not the same kind of fighter at all. I mean, he's obviously a lot smaller. He doesn't have the strength or the power. Be a very different opponent, apart from the fact that he's southpaw. I also seen him fight Keith Thurman. People say that he kind of made it difficult for Keith Thurman, and he showed a lot of awkwardness and this. Yeah, he showed a lot of awkwardness, but did he really make it that difficult for Keith Thurman? I mean, Keith Thurman won pretty much every round, and he did it quite comfortably in the gear that he was in. He didn't really need to step it up. Bundu kind of put him under pressure to a certain extent, but he was constantly coming forward like a lot of bobbing and weaving, switching stance. But he was doing that constantly. So it comes to be like orthodox and like kind of come forward, switching next to be like southpaw, but he wasn't really doing it effectively. Now, I've done a lot of like taekwondo, kickboxing, stuff like that in my time, and the way he was fighting was quite suited to that sort of style where you can kick people, because he's kind of coming in, probably like switching, changing his stance in, and he's in range to kick people. But in boxing, when you've got shorter arms than your opponent, you don't have the same reach. There's no point in really, in my opinion, just constantly moving about, doing all that kind of shifting, and if you're out of range, and you're constantly out of range. He didn't manage to close the gap. He didn't manage to get himself close enough to throw punches. He did occasionally, but most of the stuff that he was doing, most of the pressure that he was kind of putting on Thurman was ineffective, in my opinion. So Keith Thurman's the kind of person he hits hard. He likes to try and take people out, but at the same time he's quite comfortable as well, fighting on the back foot. We've seen him do it before. He can just like find his range, and he can just pick you off like hard hooks, uppercuts, little combinations. And that's basically what he was doing to Bundu all night. Bundu like coming in, bobbing, weaving, switching stances, all this kind of stuff, but without ever really being arranged to do anything effective. So Keith Thurman just keep him there, boom boom, pick him off, won every round comfortably. So yeah, I mean, he gave Thurman very little problems, in my opinion, from what I saw. Okay, people are going to say that he did take some big punches. He's never been stopped before, so obviously he is tough and he is durable. He went 12 rounds with Keith Thurman, that's true, but that doesn't mean he's going to go 12 rounds with Errol Spence. I don't see the fight being similar to that at all. Keith Thurman, as I say, he's quite happy to sort of just move on the back foot, pick him off with these punches. That's not what I've seen from Errol Spence. I can't imagine Errol Spence getting on the back foot against Bundu. I don't see it happening. I see him. If Bundu is going to try, I don't think he even is, to be honest with you. But if he does try to come forward and do what he was doing against Keith Thurman, then Errol Spence is going to stand his ground. He's got longer range, he's got better long range punches, and if he does get in close, then he's just going to like get in with these hooks, uppercuts to the body and head. And I don't think that Bundu is going to. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a very good place for him to be up close with Errol Spence. I think he's going to have to go on the back foot. I haven't seen him do that, to be honest, very much. I don't know how effective he is fighting like that. I don't give him much chance, to be honest with you, of winning this fight. One thing I would say that he should do, when he fought Frankie Gavin, he was southpaw. Well, Frankie Gavin's a southpaw. Leonard Bundu can switch stances easily. I mean, he fights orthodox southpaw. I would say, well, against Frankie Gavin, he had a lot more success when he was in a southpaw stance. I know that Frankie Gavin's no Errol Spence, but just in terms of like the angles and in terms of not being kind of tied up, so to speak, for like the body attack that Errol Spence does. In the Chris Algieri fight, one thing that happened quite a lot, Chris Algieri is obviously orthodox. He come in with a jab, Errol Spence come in with a jab at the same time, and they kind of ended up a bit like tangled up with the arms. And as a result of that, they were there kind of tangled up. He would just basically like move to the side, just hit boom, boom, couple of vicious body shots. And it would happen quite a lot. So like Chris Algieri would come in for a jab, next thing's a bit of a kind of like tangle of arms, like a couple of boom, just switch away, like change the angle ever so slightly, bang, bang, and he's just battering him with that all night. So that's something that I think Bundu would be wise to try and avoid. I think he'd have more success at getting his shots off and also avoiding being, because you see it as well, like something that Spence likes to do. He likes to basically kind of grab hold of people and then just start really, like roughing them up. I don't see how Bundu is going to be able to live with him like that. If Errol Spence just gets in him and starts roughing him up, I can't see how he can do anything about it. I think the only thing he can try and do is get on the back foot, frustrate him possibly, and hope that he kind of not runs out of steam, but the attack becomes slightly less relentless as it goes on. But to be honest with you, I think to beat Errol Spence, it's going to take more than a 40-year-old Bundu, or any kind of Bundu, to be honest with you. I think he's a good fighter, I think he's decent, but I think Errol Spence is going to beat him and beat him convincingly. I think he's going to. I don't know if he'll just knock him clean out. I wouldn't be surprised if his corner threw the towel, like probably, I don't know, around about the 8th round. That's what I think would be quite likely. I think he's just going to put a beating on him. He's going to do his best to try to get out and try and like box on the back foot. But I think Errol Spence is just relentless, and he's just going to. In the end, I think his corner will throw the towel at about the 8th, 9th round. That's my prediction. Yeah. In terms of what Errol Spence would do after this, well, I mean, like in terms of the people that he could, what challenges does he have at welterweight? Well, the obvious ones like Kell Brook, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, they'd all be challenges for him. Obviously, you've got like Danny Garcia, Pacquiao. I think Pacquiao's going to retire soon, so I'm not really counting him. Bradley's kind of like at the end of his career. I'm not sure if he's a bit kind of past his best. I just don't know if he can really handle if he'd be able to handle Errol Spence. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think the people that would really, to be honest, I don't know, like Sean Porter against Errol Spence would be interesting. Sean Porter is very, very strong, very determined. So it'd be interesting to see Errol Spence, because what he's done up to now, quite a lot, has just really been able to kind of like manhandle people and just physically impose himself. obviously he's never fought someone like Sean Porter. So Sean Porter is no Chris Algieri. I don't know if he'd be able to do that to him. It'd be quite an interesting fight. I think it'd possibly be quite scrappy, as Sean Porter fights often are. But that would be a very interesting fight. I'd probably put my money on Errol Spence, to be honest with you. I think Sean Porter, anyone who fights him is in for a tough night. He's fought like Kell Brook, Keith Thurman. I think Kell Brook beat him like convincingly, but it wasn't. It was a tough night. If he fights him again, it would be another tough night. Keith Thurman again. A lot of people thought Sean Porter won. It was kind of very close against Keith Thurman. I don't really know. That would be interesting because I'm sure he's like tough. He's not. I doubt he's got like a glass jaw or anything like that. But we don't know how tough he is, or how we haven't seen him fight someone who hits as hard and is as kind of vicious, really, as Keith Thurman. Who can, a lot of these people he's been fighting, there's been nothing really coming back. Keith Thurman is, underrated in my opinion. He's got very good footwork, very fast hands, and he just hits with very good hard counters from like quite awkward angles. So if Errol Spence could stand up to that, I don't know. One thing I would say though is that Keith Thurman has kind of looked a bit vulnerable to the body before, and that's Errol Spence, what seems to be anyway his speciality. So could Keith Thurman stand up to just the kind of physicality and the onslaught of Errol Spence? I don't know, to be honest. It's a tough one. If they were to fight, then we'll look into it a bit more. But right now, I don't know. I'd say that would be kind of a 50-50, really, because there are kind of unanswered questions really about both of them. Kell Brook against Errol Spence would be the one for me. Would be the real one to watch. Both of them are they're different, but they're similar in the sense they're both very big and strong and kind of relentless, very powerful. So you see like Errol Spence, the way he kind of comes through with people and just picking them off, body shot, hooks, uppercuts. Obviously he's a southpaw, and he is kind of just blasting through people. Kell Brook, the same. So, something's got to give. Kell Brook's not the kind of person to go on the back foot. Errol Spence doesn't appear to be either. So you're going to have a real, two very powerful fighters just sort of going at it, trying to take each other out. Kell Brook's obviously more of a headhunter. I don't know. I mean, I'd put my money on Kell Brook. I've seen more of him, and I think he's just got like slightly more, experience. He's been around longer, but it'd be a very, very tough fight. Not sure whether it will happen because I don't know after this if he's going to go down to 147. I think it's probably more likely to go to 154. It's unfortunate, really, because I would like to see that. Maybe we will one day. But in terms of Danny Garcia, I don't see Danny Garcia standing up to Errol Spence. To be honest with you, I don't think he'd be like. I think both Kell Brook and Errol Spence would just overpower him, stop him late. Keith Thurman possibly too. I'm not saying I don't rate Danny Garcia. He's sort of good at what he does. I just think that, I don't think he's kind of big enough. I don't think he's got enough to his game really to deal with what would be coming at him from those two. So yeah, I'd pick him. I'll pick Errol Spence to win this fight. If Kell Brook does leave the division, he, in my opinion, is that obviously like Pacquiao as well, but Pacquiao and sort of Bradley as well, but they're both on their way out. Bradley, in terms of achievements, is obviously well above Kell Brook. Pacquiao, obviously a lot more. But I think in terms of who's the best, who's the most difficult to beat right now, in my opinion, it's Kell Brook. If he leaves, then it's going to be really between like Errol Spence and, in my opinion, Keith Thurman. So I suppose that would be the big one after this. But yeah, Leonard Bundu, I don't really see this being anything like the Keith Thurman fight. I think he's going to go on the back foot. If he tries to go forward, I think he's going to realise pretty soon that he's not having much joy doing that, and he's going to, start backpedaling. And I think his corner will stop the fight. round about the eighth round. That's my prediction. So yeah, well yeah, thanks for listening, and let me know what you think.